Welcome, everyone, and thank you for listening today. In this episode, we're going to talk about something very interesting and inspiring, the history of architecture in New York.
Yes, and don't worry if you're a beginner in English. We will use simple and clear language, and we'll talk slowly, just like a real conversation.
Exactly. New York is not just a city, it's like a living museum of buildings where every street tells a story.
When people think of New York, they often imagine tall skyscrapers, busy streets, and famous buildings. But the story of New York architecture started a long time ago, even before those tall buildings existed.
That's right. Let's go back to the beginning, to the time when New York was called New Amsterdam.
At that time, in the 1600s, buildings were very simple. Most houses were made of wood, and later brick and stone.
People built small homes with steep roofs and narrow windows. They were not thinking about beauty or design. They were thinking about safety, weather, and daily life.
The streets were also very narrow. New York was a small town, not a big city. Architecture was practical, not modern.
But everything started to change in the 1800s. This was the time when New York began to grow very fast.
Yes, especially because of immigration. Millions of people came from Europe looking for work and a better life.
And all those people needed homes, offices, and factories. This created a big change in architecture.
One very famous type of building from this time is the tenement building.
Tenements were apartment buildings for working-class families. They were often crowded and very basic.
Many families lived in small rooms with little light and fresh air. The buildings were tall and narrow because land was expensive.
Architecture was not comfortable, but it was efficient. It showed how fast the city was growing.
At the same time, richer people were building beautiful houses and public buildings.
Yes, this was the time of classical architecture in New York. Buildings were inspired by Greek and Roman styles.
You could see columns, arches, and detailed designs. These buildings wanted to show power, culture, and success.
Examples include early banks, libraries, and government buildings. They wanted to look strong and important.
Then came a very important moment in New York's architectural history, the invention of the elevator.
This changed everything. Before elevators, buildings could not be very tall.
People didn't want to walk many stairs, but with elevators, buildings could grow up instead of out.
And this is how the age of the skyscraper began.
In the early 1900s, skyscrapers became symbols of progress and ambition.
Companies wanted tall buildings to show success. Architects wanted to design something new and bold.
This period gave us famous styles like Art Deco.
Art Deco buildings are easy to recognize. They have strong lines, geometric shapes, and decorative details.
The Chrysler Building is a perfect example. It doesn't just function as an office building, it also tells a story of creativity and confidence.
New York architecture was now about identity. Buildings were no longer just places to live or work.
They became symbols of dreams, especially for immigrants.
For many people arriving in New York, these tall buildings meant hope.
Hope for a better job, a better life, and a better future.
Architecture reflected that feeling. It was bold, tall, and full of energy.
But not all buildings were tall. At the same time, neighborhoods developed their own styles.
Brownstone houses are a good example.
These buildings are usually made of brown or red stone. They're common in places like Brooklyn and Harlem.
Brownstones were built for families. They feel warm and personal, very different from skyscrapers.
This shows something important about New York architecture.
Yes, it's diverse, just like the people of the city.
Different communities, different needs, and different dreams all shaped the city.
By the middle of the 20th century, New York had become a global city.
Its architecture showed history, growth, struggle, and success all at the same time.
And this is only the beginning of the story.
There is still so much to talk about: modern designs, famous architects, and how the city keeps changing.
New York never stops building and it never stops evolving.
And its architecture continues to tell new stories every day.
As the city moved forward into the mid-20th century, architecture in New York began to change in new and surprising ways.
Yes, this was the time when people started to think differently about buildings. They were not only thinking about height or decoration anymore.
They started thinking about function, space, and modern life.
This period is often called the Age of Modern Architecture.
Modern architecture focused on simple shapes, clean lines, and new materials.
Glass, steel, and concrete became very popular. Buildings started to look more simple, but also more powerful.
One important idea was that a building should show what it is used for.
So offices looked like offices, and homes looked like homes. There was less decoration and more focus on purpose.
One famous example of this style is the Seagram building.
It's made of glass and steel, and it looks very clean and elegant.
This building changed how people thought about office towers.
It showed that a skyscraper could be modern, simple, and beautiful at the same time.
During this time, New York also faced many challenges.
Yes, the city was growing fast, but not always in a healthy way.
Many old neighborhoods were crowded and needed improvement.
This led to large urban projects. Some old buildings were destroyed to make space for new roads and housing.
One key figure during this time was an urban planner who believed in rebuilding the city.
Highways, bridges, and public housing projects became part of the city's architecture.
Some people believed this was progress.
Others felt that history and community were being lost.
This created an important debate in New York. Should the city focus on the future or protect the past?
That question changed architecture forever.
In the 1960s and 1970s, people started to care more about historic preservation.
They wanted to save old buildings instead of destroying them.
Landmarks like Grand Central Terminal became symbols of this movement.
People realized that architecture is not just about buildings, it's about memory and identity.
Saving old buildings helped the city remember its story.
At the same time, new styles continued to appear.
Postmodern architecture became popular.
This style brought back decoration, color, and playful design.
Buildings were no longer strict or serious all the time.
Architects mixed old ideas with new ones.
New York became a place where different styles lived together.
You could see a glass skyscraper next to a historic stone building.
This mix became one of the city's most special features.
Architecture in New York started to reflect freedom and creativity.
Another big change came with the reuse of old buildings.
Factories and warehouses were turned into apartments, offices, and art spaces.
Neighborhoods like Soho are great examples of this change.
Old industrial buildings became modern living spaces.
This showed that architecture can change without losing history.
As the city moved into the late 20th century, global influence increased.
Architects from all over the world came to design buildings in New York.
Each one brought new ideas, styles, and cultures.
The skyline became more international.
Yet, it still felt uniquely New York.
Technology also played a big role.
Better construction methods allowed more creative designs.
Buildings could curve, twist, and rise in new ways.
Architecture became a form of art as well as engineering.
At the same time, people began to talk about quality of life.
People wanted buildings that felt human, not cold or empty.
Public spaces became more important.
Parks, plazas, and open areas were added to the city.
Architecture was no longer just about private buildings.
It was about how people lived together in a city.
This thinking prepared New York for the next stage of its architectural journey.
A stage where sustainability, community, and design all come together.
The story keeps moving forward.
And the city keeps changing with it.
As New York entered the 21st century, architecture once again began to change with the times.
Yes, and this time, the focus was not only on beauty or size. People started thinking seriously about the future.
Words like sustainability, environment, and energy became very important.
Buildings were now expected to be smart, efficient, and responsible.
Architects began designing structures that use less energy and more natural light.
Glass buildings became more advanced, using special materials to control heat and light.
Green roofs started appearing on top of buildings.
These roofs help reduce heat, clean the air, and even grow plants.
New York showed that a big city can still care about nature.
Another major change was how people use space.
Homes, offices, and public places began to mix together.
You can now live, work, and relax in the same area.
This makes life easier and more connected.
Modern New York architecture tries to bring people closer, not separate them.
After major events in the city's history, architecture also became more emotional.
Buildings started to reflect memory, respect, and healing.
Architecture was no longer only about the present.
It also became about remembering the past and honoring it.
New designs now often include open spaces for reflection and community.
This shows that buildings can carry meaning, not just function.
Architecture continues to shape the skyline.
Digital design tools allow architects to imagine bold and creative forms.
Curved towers, unique shapes, and artistic structures are becoming more common.
Yet, even with all this change, New York respects its older buildings.
Historic preservation is still very important.
Old buildings are repaired, reused, and protected.
This balance between old and new is what makes New York special.
You can walk down one street and see hundreds of years of history.
Colonial homes, brownstones, Art Deco towers, and modern skyscrapers, all together.
Each building tells a part of the city's story.
Architecture in New York is like a conversation between generations.
The past speaks, the present listens, and the future responds.
And this conversation never really ends.
As the city grows, new challenges will appear.
Population, climate, and technology will all influence design.
But one thing is certain.
New York will continue to build with ambition and creativity.
Because architecture here is more than construction.
It is about dreams, effort, and identity.
For millions of people, these buildings represent hope and opportunity.
They remind us that cities are built by people and for people.
From small wooden houses to towering skyscrapers, the journey has been incredible.
And it's still going on.
New York's architecture will keep changing, just like the city itself.
Thank you for listening with us today.
We hope this conversation helped you understand the story behind the buildings.
If you enjoyed this discussion, keep exploring and keep learning.
And remember, every building has a story, especially in New York.
Until next time, keep your curiosity alive.
And keep practicing your English with real conversations.